This is the homework video for 4-7. We're in the textbook on page 224, starting on number 4. So we are going to solve the equation for y. So we are solving equations that have multiple variables, and we're not plugging in for any of the variables. We're just solving for them, which just means to isolate them. So it's in y equals or x equals or whatever variable it is we're solving for. It's going to say that letter equals everything else. That would be solving for it. So solving for y, this is going to say y equals. So that means this 8x has to go away. So it just says y equals. So how do we get rid of an 8x? Now, if you just wanted to get rid of the 8, you would divide. That would leave the x still. And if we divide by 8, we have to divide everything by 8. I don't want to divide 20 by 8 and y by 8 and all that. What I want to do is just move this whole term over here. So how do I get rid of this term? I just minus 8x. That gets rid of all of it. Just like if we had an x on both sides, right? We minus it to get it out of there. So I'm going to minus 8x on this side. So that clears it out and leaves me y equals. And now on this side, I can't combine these two, right? These are different terms. They're not like, and so I have to just write it as an expression, 20 minus 8x. And I can't simplify it any further than that. That's it. Now, if you wanted to put the 8x in front, you could. This is the answer in the book. But if you prefer to have the x up front, and let's say you said y equals negative 8x, positive 20 would be plus 20. These say the same thing, negative 8x, positive 20. Okay, but this is the book answer, but either one is correct. All right, number 5. 4x minus 8y equals negative 40. So again, on this one, we're solving for y, so we want to get y by itself. So first thing we're going to do is get rid of this term, minus 4x. And so that's going to get rid of it. That's still going to leave me a negative 8y. Again, I can't combine these terms, so I'm going to leave them separate. Negative 40 minus 4x. Now, y is attached with a coefficient. If I want to get it to y equals, as always, I divide by negative 8. Now, everything on this side has to get divided by negative 8. You can write it over one big fraction, or you can write them separately over negative 8. That's fine. Either way, this is going to clear out, leaving you just y equals. 2 negatives make a positive. 40 divided by 8 is 5. 2 negatives make a positive, so this is plus. And 4 over 8, that's not 2. It's not 8 divided by 4, it's 4 divided by 8. That's going to be 0.5, or 1/2 x. Okay, so this is a good answer. Other ways you could write it, you could say 1/2 the fraction x. And if you wanted to put that up front, you could. You could put the 1/2 x or the 0.5x up front and put the plus 5 here. Those all say the same thing, so I don't want you to be confused and think that they're different. They're all the same. Okay, number 6. So we're going to solve it for whatever variable they ask us to. So r equals d over t. So in this section, they're actually going to give you some formulas that are actually related to something. So this is rate equals distance over time. Something we're going to use in math a lot. In science, you're going to use that rate equals distance over time. You divide the distance you went by the time it took, and that gives you your rate or your speed. But we're solving this for d. So we want to get d by itself, solving it for d. So right now this says d divided by t. So just like over here, this said times. To undo it, I divided. This says divide. So I undo it by multiplying. So I am multiplying both sides of this equation by t to undo the division. Dividing by t, multiplying by t cancels itself out, leaving me just d. And over here, these just get connected. And so the book's going to write it as r times t. You don't need the times symbol. You can just connect them. But you could also write it as t times r. It says the same thing. You could put d on the other side. And even if you did d equals r times t, they all say the same thing. Okay, so we don't want to be confused. All of these say the same thing. All right, number 7. All right, we're solving this one for n. So I got to get n by itself. So just like I normally would, like if this was a number, this would look like a regular equation, right? I would add 360 to both sides, I'd divide by 180. That's what I'm going to do. So first I'm going to add 360 to both sides. The difference is I'm used to this being a number over here where it just combines and simplifies with 360, leaving me just a number, and then I divide it by 180. Well, it's going to leave an expression now instead. So I have s plus 360 because I can't put those together. And I'm still going to divide by 180. Now you can write it like that, or you could put each one over 180 like I did up here. But you do want to divide them, split them up into separate pieces. So you probably would be better off to put them both over 180 just so you can see it. So this is going to eliminate. So n equals, now s over 180, I can't do anything with that, but 360 over 180, when you divide, that's just 2. So I'm going to have a plus 2. So when you get to here, if it helps, write them separately over 180. S over 180 stays, 360 divided by 180 is 2. N is by itself, we've solved for n. All right, number 8. Force equals mass times acceleration. Okay, you'll see this in science for sure. So we're trying to solve this for a. So we got to get a by itself. Nice and easy. This is multiplication. So how do I get rid of multiplication? I divide. Goes away. So a equals f over m. Nothing I can do with that. They're all variables. I can't simplify anything. That is done. All right, from number 8 we go to number 10. Okay, number 10, we have this formula. Gives you the person's shoe size in terms of f, which is the length of a person's foot in inches. So if you measured your foot in inches, you plug that number in for f, you run this formula, it will give you s, which is your shoe size. So first I want you to solve this formula for f. So we start off with s equals 3f minus 24. Again, why do we do this? What's the point? Why get f by itself? So right now, this formula works nicely if you plug in the length of a foot. The numbers run themselves and it gives you the size. But what if I gave you the size of the shoe size, and I asked you, well, how big was somebody's foot? Now you got to work all the way backwards through this. So when we set it equal to f, it now works in the opposite way. So it's nice to have these formulas set up differently depending on the information that's given to you. They just work much nicer depending on what you're trying to solve for. All right, so we want to get f by itself. So again, imagine this is a number. I would add 24 to both sides and divide by 3. That's what I'm going to do. So add 24 to get f by itself. I now have 3f. I'll divide by that 3. And over here, I can't combine them. It's s and 24, so they stay separate. S plus 24. Now I'm going to divide by 3. Everything gets divided by 3. And I can't do anything with the s over 3. 24 divided by 3, I can. So this is going to stay s over 3. 24 divided by 3 is 8. The 3 is canceled, and that's f. Now in the book, you'll even notice they left it as s plus 24 over 3. The whole thing over 3. And that's equivalent, but this is actually even more simplified. So I like this answer. Better than the book answer, to be honest. And letter B, estimate the length of a person's foot if the person wears a size 9 shoe. So we're trying to find f when we're given the shoe size. So if we were in this original formula and you plugged in 9 for s, their shoe size, you'd have to work backwards through this to solve. But now, since we already have this, f, the length of someone's foot, equals their shoe size divided by 3 plus 8. So they just told us somebody's shoe size is a 9. So I'm going to plug 9 in for their shoe size. And now the numbers will run themselves and tell me the length of their foot. So 9 divided by 3 is just 3 plus 8. And so f equals 11. And that is inches. All right, flipping to 16. So a little bit of review, just solving an equation. Okay, lots of distributing. 6y minus 24, 2y minus 8, and then this one I have to be careful, make sure it's a negative when I distribute it, so I get negative 16, and negative times a negative is a positive 8y. And that's the spot right there that everybody messes up. They put a minus. Okay, that is a plus because it's negative times a negative. All right, the left side of my equal sign is simplified. I'm just going to drop it down. I need to simplify the right side. So 8y and 2y is 10y. Negative 8 and negative 16 is negative 24. I notice I have this minus 24 on both sides. So that should start to tell me something's going on here. Now I have got a y on both sides. I need to take care of that first. The smaller of the two is the 6. So I'm going to go ahead and minus the 6y out of here, get rid of it. So I have negative 24 equals 4y minus 24. Notice my y's didn't go away. So this is not a no solution. This is not an all real numbers. That's when the variable goes away. So now I'm going to isolate this variable. So I'm going to add 24 to both sides to get rid of it. So I still have 4y. And over here, negative 24 plus 24 is 0. Please remember, 0 is an answer. 0 is a number. Y equals 0. So a lot of students, when they start to see this happen, they want to say no solution. They want to say all real numbers. But we still have a y. We only get those answers if the variable disappears, if it cancels itself out. We have a y and an equals, and it just happens to be 0. All right, 17. So first things first, I'm looking at the right side of this inequality, and I see things that I can simplify and combine. So I'm going to put the 30 and the 22 together. That's going to be a 52v. I notice that I have a 52v on the other side as well. So I'm going to start clearing things out, and I'm going to have no more variables. And so this will be a no solution or an all real numbers. We got to see what happens. So I'm going to minus 52v from both sides. It clears out. Now when it clears out over here, that's a 0. When it clears out over here, I still have a negative 7. All right, so there's no more variable. It's either no solution or all real numbers. I have to see, is this true or is this false? Is 0 less than negative 7? No, it is not. That is a false statement. That is not true. So the answer here is no solution. If this was a true statement, if it said 0 is greater than negative 7, then we would say all real numbers. (18). We're going to translate this into either an inequality or an equation and then solve it. So 5 more than twice a number. 5 more than, if I said, what's 5 more than 10? You'd say 15. I'm not multiplying by 5. I'm adding 5 to get 5 more than. So it's 5 more than twice a number. 5 more than twice a number, that's multiplying, times 2. 5 more than twice a number is equals 3 more than adding 3 to 4 times the same number. 5 more than twice a number is 3 more than 4 times that same number. Now it says, what's the number? So you just solve this. So I have x on both sides. I'm going to minus 2x. I have 5 equals 3 plus 2x. I'm going to minus 3. I get 2 equals 2x divided by 2, and x equals 1. I got one more here. I'm just going to squeeze it in over here. Number 19, write an equation for the horizontal line through 5, negative 3. So first of all, x, comma, y, 5, negative 3. If you think quickly of a graph, a horizontal line goes this way. This is a horizontal line. Okay, those x values change, but the y values always stay consistent. So these are always a y equals something for a horizontal line. So if it goes through this point, 5, negative 3, 5, negative 3, the horizontal line that goes through that, the x value changes. Right here it's at 5, but it could go to negative 5, it could go to 0. But no matter where I go on this horizontal line, I'm still at y equals negative 3. So that is the equation here in letter A, y equals negative 3. And for B, we're going to use the same point, 5, negative 3. Again, that's the x and the y. But now they're going to talk about a vertical line. So again, going through this point, 5, negative 3, a vertical line. When I move around that vertical line, the y value changes, but the x value is always going to be the same. So the x is always 5, and so the equation is x equals